So for assignment 4-2, I have the requirements met in my marketing module in my project class. So I set up a discussion board for grading to start off with. So I have this discussion board here, and it is set up to have 30 points possible. And it says here this is a graded discussion. So when I would have replies to this and I'm ready to grade it, I can click these three dots and do speed grader. And I can go ahead and give the students the points and go through them and be able to see that information. And then I have in my project class, I did develop a quiz. So I have the marketing mind check listed here. So I'm going to open that up in a new tab, and I have a little description showing it, and then you can see the settings I've changed here. But if we go into edit, you can see the name and then also my description of what they should be doing for this quiz. The quiz type is a graded quiz. It's in the assignments group that I made called quizzes. I did shuffle the answers around. I always like to do that on my quizzes so that it has a little bit of difference in the answers and how they're listed in case students are sitting next to each other. And then I usually don't add a time limit, but I could if I needed to here. I don't like to. I was never one that tested really well with time limits, and so I don't do that to my students as either, but I don't allow multiple attempts usually on the quizzes that I set because that's just something I don't usually have them do, that way that they take it seriously the first time. I did say that the students could see their quiz responses and then the incorrect questions will be marked in the student feedback. I put that they could see their correct answers or see what the correct answers is on June 30th, which is the last day of this class, so that's how I made it. If it was in one of my regular classes, I may make this like the day after or the next class period, so that way when they come back in they can then see that. But then I made it hide them at the day after this class ends, but it would be probably that same day, just a little bit later in the day. Sometimes I mark show one question at a time here. That way that they only have one at a time. It also depends on the clientele that I have in my classroom at the time. If it's a class that seems a little overwhelmed by a list of questions, then I'll just do show one question at a time. I do put a access code on my quizzes in my regular classroom, so I did here as well. So I marked that checkbox and put marketing. I like this because if students are gone or something like that and I have published the quiz, they can't just go in and get that. Then they still have to meet with me to get that access code. So I signed it to everyone and I made it due on June 30th, so it's available today until June 30th. So then the questions that I have listed. I did make a group. I didn't put any of the questions in the group. I could just by moving these up and adding them to it, but I did want to mess with making that group a little bit, so I did do that. So the first question that I have was for multiple choice, and then I have all my options listed there. And then the second question that I had was a essay question, so they just have to explain something, so I would have to go back in and grade that one when they are finished. The next one that I have is a true-false question. The fourth one that I have is a file upload question, so they would actually create a graphic and then upload it to this question. I don't use that one a lot in my classes. I always stick to the traditional true, false, multiple choice, essay, short answer type of questions, but I'm looking forward to integrating this more now that I looked at more options for questions. I look forward to integrating that more. I think that really reaches some students that I haven't reached before with questions and is a good option. And then I have my fifth question is matching. I really like matching just for like a matching vocab type of question. It's an easy thing that students are really familiar with and can go back to. So I have that one as well for my 5 questions. So I have set due dates for all of my assignments or discussion boards. So I made them all the last day of this class. Here's one assignment. Discussion board has that due date. My quiz has the due date, and then my collaboration group turn in, where they turn in their project they're doing with their group, also has a due date here. Um, my grade book, excuse me, I didn't change a lot in it. I really like how Canvas has their grade book set up. I like the options of being able to click this and you can rearrange the students' names. And so I left mine the same as I had before. I also like how I can export into different files and change those settings if I did want to. I have before, when I am showing maybe somebody how to use the gradebook, I've hid the student's name so that they can't see that. When I am grading certain assignments, sometimes I arrange the columns by the due date so I can see certain ones that are due that week that I'm grading for, or something like that. But for the most part, I leave it in as they have it, just because, like I said, I enjoy how Canvas has their gradebook set up. I also like how you can filter by student or name. Some of my classes that I have at school regularly have 25 or more students, and so I really like that option to be able to sort them. And then I have all of my, going back to my modules really quick here, I do have all of my items published and available for my students with all of the green check marks. So that is my gradebook, discussions, the assignment due dates, and quizzes for assignment 4-2.